Jurassic World Rebirth picks up 5 years after Jurassic World Dominion, where Zora Bennett, played by Scarlett Johansson, leads a team of skilled operatives to the most dangerous place on Earth, an island research facility for the original Jurassic Park. Their mission is to secure genetic material from the dinosaurs whose DNA can provide life-changing benefits to mankind. But things go sideways fast when they cross paths with the civilian family who's been stranded after a dinosaur attack. Alright, so my expectations for this movie, I can say, were respectfully low. I think we can all say at this point that, the Jurassic World movies have just not really been that good. And I'm being nice here. I feel like a lot of people just hate those movies, but they make a ton of money, so what can I say? And then I heard Gareth Edwards was directing, and I'm not crazy about him as a director, but I do think his movies are pretty solid and have a lot of style to them. So at the very least, I allowed myself to have a little bit of hope. But that actually brings me to the first positive of this film. This movie actually looks pretty good. I'm just so tired of these big ugly blockbuster movies. We can get into a whole thing about it, but basically whenever a movie manages to look good to me and I'm just like, wow, I'm enjoying what my eyes are receiving here, even if the rest of me isn't, I just consider that a win. It's just credit where credit's due. Gareth Edwards just proves once again that he is a master of scale. His visual language, as everyone keeps calling it, is pretty great. This movie's clearly shot on film and it shows, and it's just a huge breath of fresh air compared to how sterile the other Jurassic World movies felt. And you could tell that they were going for this grounded, nostalgic approach, and it just shows that an old franchise still can be visually new and refreshing with the right person in charge. Now, without a doubt, this movie's biggest weakness is its script and just how it totally wastes its fantastic cast. When you've got actors like Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, and Jonathan Bailey leading your film, I know it's a monster movie or whatever, but these people have chops and I expect to see them. The sheer star power here is insane, and it's genuinely baffling how little the writing gave them to work with. David Koepp, the guy that wrote the original Jurassic Park, he's back, and while he does bring some cool callbacks and familiar structure, the human side of the story is so weak. It's not because the script pulled from old elements. Actually, I think that's a great idea when you're trying to rebirth the franchise and kind of bring it back to its roots. The real issue is that the exposition and character dialogue is so clunky and on the nose that at times, not even exaggerating, I wanted people to stop talking in this movie and just bring us more dinosaurs. Instead of letting us figure out who these characters are and these people are through their actions or subtle interactions, the script just tells us, and it just sounds like a first draft, that didn't really get any polish. For example, Zora Bennett, played by Scarlett Johansson, we're told she's this covert operations expert with a traumatic past and a no-nonsense attitude, but instead of seeing her actually use those personality traits, we just get blunt statements and blunt reactions that do not feel earned at all. Or for example, Mahershala Ali, who is an incredible actor, is just stuck in this generic team leader role, and his massive talent is mostly wasted on a character who just doesn't get any depth or much of a compelling journey to go on. And Jonathan Bailey, as charming as he is clearly struggling to make this script work for him. They're all just basic archetypes, they're not fleshed out at all, and it makes it super hard to care about them when dinosaurs are trying to eat them. Also gotta mention that there's a whole B plot to this movie with a family that's been stranded alongside with them, and it really feels like they had two stories and just cobbled them together and just didn't know which one was gonna resonate more with audiences, so they just threw both in there. Let me know if you disagree, but I feel like if they just did the family gets stranded on Dinosaur Island story, I think that would have worked better. And this leads directly to the pacing issues that I have with this movie. When the dinosaurs aren't on screen, the movie often just drags, and the character interactions, which should be building the emotional stakes, instead feel like filler just to get us to the next action scene. The dialogue in this movie is purely functional, just there to get the plot moving. And it's crazy because this movie does genuinely pose a lot of ethical and moral questions for the characters to kind of figure out. And instead of just letting them naturally progress through it, they kind of just address it in blunt statements throughout the film. But I did hear somewhere that this movie was kind of rushed or something, it was announced, casted, shot, and produced in a very just quick timeline. So if you know anything about that, comment down below. Maybe that'll kind of explain why the script didn't feel super fleshed out. So although the human stars were wasted, we still have the real stars of this movie, the dinosaurs. No surprises here, the dinosaurs were the highlight of this movie. Not even joking, the only time I felt anything in this movie was when there was a dinosaur on screen. There's this one scene that I'm sure everyone's gonna be talking about. I'm not gonna spoil it, but it involves a T-Rex and it is very tense, and I just loved it so much. That being said, the dinosaurs weren't perfect. While they did use a lot of blending of practical effects on set, I do feel like the CGI for the dinosaurs was kind of wonky. I'm not trying to be a CGI snob or anything, but we've made about 150 dinosaur movies throughout the last 30 years. I feel like we're a bit better at it than this movie showed. And then there's just the straight up design of the major dinosaur of this film, which I'm not gonna once again spoil here, but the dude looks like a freaking alien. Like, he does not look like a dinosaur, and it kind of took me out of the whole thing. It just felt like an unnecessary detour from the style that this movie like established. The next time, keep it simple. You're doing great. So does Jurassic World Rebirth live up to the name? Yeah. I mean, listen, visually, I think it's a huge step forward. I think it's really good to know that you can still make dinosaur movies that make you feel something. It feels slightly less like a cash grab and a bit more towards like trying to recapture that original Jurassic Park feeling. However, it is definitely plagued by the same issues that were in the other Jurassic World films. It's a movie that promises a fresh start, but is more of just a step in the right direction. And it shows that the franchise can still deliver on its core appeal to audiences. But the question now is, will Universal and, the people that make this film listen to the reviews and try to improve it moving forward? Or are they going to see that big box office paycheck and just try to pump out the next one? All in all, Jurassic World Rebirth is okay. And honestly, by the time you're watching this, like, Superman and Fantastic Four are probably already in theaters. And even though at the time of recording I haven't seen them yet, I can almost guarantee that they're both going to be better than this. So I would say for this movie, just wait for streaming. You can see all the cool dinosaur scenes and then just like scroll TikTok during the dialogue. Anyway, subscribe for more reviews probably, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.